Here we go. Welcome to Star 80, a celebration of 80 gowns, 80 dolls, and 80 year. This is a self-proclaimed and self-produced, as always, initiative to celebrate the days coming up or leading up to Diana Ross as she's about to turn 80, or she will turn 80 on March 26, 2024. And I can't take it how excited I am that we have Michael Musto on the call to be interviewed with regard to Star 80, Diana Ross. Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to be asked these questions about Miss Diana Ross. Now,
I will always have time for Diana Ross.
well, that is really good to know. Just really good to know. I really um, just from a cultural background, you're from Long Island, you're Italian American like myself, and you love Diana Ross.
Well, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm
You're
technically
from
born.
Brooklyn. Okay, technically
Yeah,
Brooklyn. Okay, okay,
I
that's
know
good
that
to
it
know.
that is part of Long Island, but whatever.
Well,
Uh,
you're from Brooklyn. That's better
I was
than Long.
actually born in Manhattan, but who
Okay, you
cares?
were born, man. That's the, oh, I care. I care. All right. So we
But
care.
I came to love Diana Ross on my own, but I also had an older male cousin who was obsessed with her at the time, and I found it was a way for me to bond with him. I was very lonely and shy. And the more I got into Diana, the more our friendship, me and my cousin, caught on. But I found I didn't have to fake it because I really truly worshipped everything that Diana was doing in the 60s.
Wow. So you started in the 60s. Do you know the moment that you knew that there's a book called The Queen's Throat that I secretly wish I wrote by Wayne Kostobaum, that the diva chose you? When did you know that Diana Ross was it for you? I mean, was there a certain song or period that in your life that you could remember and share with us?
Yeah, it was from the very first hand clap. Baby, baby. She had me right there. That was their first huge hit. Where did
Yeah,
our
where did
love
our
go?
love go? Yeah.
And
All
from there,
right.
she dragged me in for the ride, the glamour ride, and she's astounded me at every turn. I've made fun of her. I admit, I even had a band in the 80s. It was called Michael Musto and the Must, which was kind of a spoof of the Supremes with me as kind of a white male Diana, sort of
And you were the lead.
like Michael Jackson. Too soon?
Ooh.
No kidding. But yeah, I was the lead singer, but it wasn't just a satire. It was really born out of admiration for Motown music, particularly the Supremes.
Right. And I had read that Funny Girl, Diana Ross and the Supremes sing Funny Girl is an important record for you. Like I think I know I don't think I read that you really like Diana Ross and the Supremes sing Funny Girl, which is I can attest that it's an artistic achievement that Diana did with the Blackberries behind her, and then there also was an alternative version just released on CD with Mary and Cindy, the Supremes from '67 forward until Diana left. So we'll be hopefully talking about that album that I think was a podcast that I listened to that you.
Yeah, it's one of my two favorite albums of all time. You seem to have frozen on the screen. What's happening here? Now you're back.
Okay, oops, little technical difficulties. All right. So we are go. Well, are you back? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the deep dive, the Star 80 deep dive in this self-proclaimed, self-produced series of questions. I'm hoping to interview as many Diana Ross fans from around the world. And their number one, the first question deep dive is beyond the Supremes classic. Which well-known Diana Ross song holds a special place in your heart? And if you could tell the people why.
One of them is Remember Me, because one of the kinds of songs Diana does so well is this very noble go out, leave, don't let the doorknob hit you, but I'll think of you kindly. It's over, but I'll love you forever. Please think of me kindly. That kind of noble, like tea and sympathy kind of attitude. And it's just such a great song. The way it mounts is very dramatic. Another one I love is "It's My Turn," which came out in 1981, and it was the theme for this mediocre Jill Clayburgh movie.
I
And it's
love that movie.
well, it's okay, and it's not even a great song. It's just
It's
very
no moment by moment, but it's a
it's
good movie.
it's sincere and it's self-empowering for a woman. And
Totally.
Diana just gives it the beautiful, sincere rendition. And every time I hear that, I can't cover up my feelings, drives me crazy. I love it. And
It
it's
was her.
unsung. It's an unsung hit song.
It's an unsung, like amazing recording in terms of her vocal confidence too in 1981. She really had that confidence that we all want to have, I think. I could attest.
And
I
it's
know
all
I
it verges on easy listening, that song. I think it's Carol Bayer Aspirin, didn't she write it?
yeah, and Michael Masser. And
Yeah,
rumor
so I mean,
has it that
I don't usually care for adult contemporary music, but
uh,
Diana gives it an edge because she
well,
makes
I'm
it
just
real.
praying that like Eric Krupper is going to remix it. If he can remix Judy Garland, he could. And these did all those great remixes of Diana, the Sonic whatever Diana, and during right before COVID. I think It's My Turn would make a great dance song on the dance floor. And I dance to anything, especially if it's Diana Ross and song It's My Turn.
It would be amazing. Yes.
It would be amazing. So, we are going to the next question in our bombastic review. Star 80, number two, the evolutionary enigma that is Diana Ross, from Motown girl group to disco diva to Oscar-nominated actress. And a lot of people don't remember this, but I remember everything about Diana Ross and everything else. Her movie Lady Sings the Blues was number one for 5 weeks in the box office, non-consecutive weeks, but 5 weeks from a Motown production with Barry Gordy Jr. and Susan DePaz. That's just really amazing. And she had the number one album with Lady Sings the Blues in 73. That's just like a first of many firsts that Miss Diana Ross did. And we go to her career. Which part of Diana Ross's career resonates with you, Mr. Michael Musto, the most? Meaning,
I'm
like,
gonna go with Lady Sings the Blues because we didn't know she had acting chops. It turned out she's a brilliant actor. She had that quality to make the drama of Billie Holiday's life come real on the screen. And also, she didn't do an impression. This wasn't Las Vegas. She did her interpretation. And it was a beautiful way that she did the Billie Holiday classics. You've changed, them their eyes, Good Morning Heartache. It was a magical moment. She was supposed to win the Oscar, but apparently Barry Gordy had over promoted her and people turned off. You can't really be mad at Liza Minnelli winning for Cabaret because that's
it's a
another
beautiful looking
incredible
film. Really
performance.
is. I mean, right? Anything that Fosse does is gorgeous. And the lighting in that film that is good. It really is beautiful. But yes,
It
Lady
was a
Sings the
great
Blues.
year because Cicely Tyson was amazing in Sounder, and it was unheard of for a Black actress to be up for Best Actress, let alone two in the same category back in 72. So this was
And
groundbreaking. I would have voted for Diana. I always would vote for Diana. And it's shocking that she has not had a great film career as a result. She had the Mahogany, which was fun trash, and The Wiz.
love it, love it,
The
love it.
Wiz was a big mistake. And she has TV movies, but I mean, she should have had an extraordinary film career. The good thing about Lady Sings the Blues is she incorporates it into all of her concerts.
Right.
There is a segment where she drops the "Ooh Baby Babies" and comes out and does Billy, and it's magical every time. She has those chops, she has the gravitas. And that's what I love about Diana, that range that she can go from the pure sparkle of the Supremes and her solo career to her Billie Holiday, which is just transcendent. And when I saw Andra Day, she was also Oscar nominated in the US versus Billie Holiday. I was like, she's not Diana Ross.
I agree. And just it wasn't Lady Sings. It just wasn't what that movie represents to I think a lot of people. And a lot of it's just a really it's such an artistic achievement, and it did things that like people in the industry didn't think would be possible. And that's one of the reasons why I want to do this series of interviews with people that love Motown and love Diana Ross because she means so much to so many people, and particularly you and I. So the next question, thank you for that. I'm really surprised by that, by the way. Um, Number three, star rating question number three, fashion and flair. Diana's iconic style is just undeniable. Which of her looks or gowns, from the sequins to, what really encapsulates Diana Ross to you, Mr. Michael Musto? Is there a particular gown that you just think, because over the past couple months, I've been making puppets of Diana and I put them on our Christmas tree, and Dino wasn't sure it was going to look good. And I'm like, I don't care. I got to do this. So there's like probably more than 80. There is definitely, but like I really try to like pick the gowns that were most iconic, and I even interviewed people before I finished them on a Zoom call to make sure I was on the right track. But to you, what gown is like, oh my gosh, I want to be the curator of this show at FIT? Well, I mean, like that would be my fantasy. And like you would be a co-curator. What gown would be the one that people walked in when they saw it in the mountain of gowns?
Well, I mean, nobody wears fashion like Diana Ross. She's facially beautiful and that body does not quit. And I love the diaphanous stuff that she's worn, for example, in Central Park. It got a little wet, but still. But the best example of that was the cover of the album, Everything is Everything, which is so true, isn't it?
It
She,
is.
she's in a sparkly, skin tight thing, and the hair is very sensible. It's not the extensions of later years, and it's just magical. She's like a wood nymph or a sprite, but she's so glamorous. She's Lola Falana crossed with Lena Horne. She's everything. Everything is everything, and Diana Ross is everything. That is the quintessential Diana Ross outfit to me.
That was the most difficult album for myself as a teenager to find in a used record store, and Surrender as well. But I found them as soon as I could. And is there a particular song in the album, Everything is Everything, the deep cut that you really like get all woo inside about?
The title song.
Really? Because it's like there's a, if you go on YouTube, there's like a Diana Ross is everything, everything and everything, everything is everything on Motown records and tapes. And it's like that really kind of like voiceover guy. And it's a radio spot. And like it was just it's such a mystery album to me because it's clearly I please if I'm wrong, it's either Douglas Kirkland or I think it was Harry Langdon Jr., the son of Harry Langdon, the actor with it was Joan Crawford, actor, Coke star. His son, who's still alive, he did like a zillion glamorous photos of Diana, and Everything is Everything, Surrender, and the Diana Ross album with Apple. Those are the same photo session.
Uh,
And it's like just interesting to me how like Cher and Diana like do a gazillion photos and don't release them until later. And that was always, it's just always fun to see like the hair pieces and the different things. But that bodysuit from 1970 or whenever that photo session happened, it's like totally like Britney did it, Whitney did it. And then everyone did that bodysuit, that cat suit, and J Lo did it. They all do it, and Diana did it first. So
and
anyway, thank you.
it's not that great of an album, quite frankly. But it doesn't matter because back then you would buy an album just for the cover.
Well, of course. And of course, anything that Diana records, I used to, we buy multiple copies and give them away and things like that. Well, at least I do. So moving right along to the number four question, Star 80, live or Memorex? Do you prefer Diana Ross in your head, like listening to her while you're, riding up your bicycle in Third Avenue, which I saw you for years going up and down, I still do. Or do you like Diana live or both?
Well, obviously both, but I mean, I would always go with live because her vocals live are of studio quality. I've
Right.
never heard her hit a bad note. I've never heard her run out of breath or shortchange a musical phrase. She gives her all, and it's perfect. You think back, how did they not know from the beginning she was obviously going to be the lead singer?
Right.
The woman has the talent, she has the vocal chops, the charisma, the beauty, and the performance chops. Uh, but I could turn on any Diana Ross recording and get a lift out of it. And I have some cuts that were never released. They're incredible. Uh, all the TV specials where she did, like, for example, a Broadway medley. which is also a great fashion moment for her.
The leading lady medley
The
from
leading lady that
GIT. Yeah.
with the crazy
I'm gonna
wigs.
wash that man right out of my hair, and it's this humongous wig with, yeah, Bob Mackie. I would die to see those in person, like at the Bob Mackie show back in '99, where they had one Diana gown, but they had like every Carol Burnett and every Cher gown you could imagine with Missy Ganner thrown in. I would like to see those gowns from the GIT special because they're really, especially the Diana solo ones from the leading lady, they're gorgeous. They're works of art.
And I just think back at how many fittings must she have been through, or they just knew her size was like a size 12 waist because she wore so many costumes.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know what I
fun little fact that Cher on the cover of Time wore Diana Ross's Bob Mackie gown that she wore at Make Room for Granddaddy when she sang For Once in My Life, that she's recorded a couple times but never really was released until like the Lost Masters or something. There was a disco version, but there was one that she did for that the first era, and she's wearing that featherish gown that's a bodysuit, and then Cher wore it in the and the cover of Time in 1975 or 4. So
Well,
the unex
Cher and
are,
Diana really have the same perfect little body that could just
yeah,
wear just about
yeah,
anything. And they're great models for Bob Mackie, obviously, both of them.
yeah. So number five, sorry, question number five, unexpected gems. Okay, what hidden treasure or like a deep cut or a B-side or something that you think, because Murder on the Dance Floor didn't do anything on the Billboard charts. I think it went to like 8 on the dance charts and when it came out in the early 2000s. Now it's 98 on the Hot 100. And let's put the cards on the table. It is difficult to go into the Hot 100. Like it's not out of the box anymore. There's streaming and there's YouTubing and it's all confusing, but I understand the chart process, but it's a miracle to have a hit record. It really is. And Diana Ross has had a lot of number ones on Billboard when it was authentic sales, not radio play and streaming. So that being said, if there was a Diana Ross record that you think in the past or in the present that could like have this chart like ascendance to number one, that missing deep cut or gem that should have been, could have been, or might will be, what song do you think of that would be that?
Mm.
There's no wrong answer, just what you think.
I would say definitely not No Matter What Song You Are, which was a really terrible astrology song.
Well, that's Shirley. Actually, Shirley Matthews is over here on my wall. She's Diana Ross's background singer with she was before the Devastating Affair. She is Shirley, Vanetta Fields, and um oh my gosh, Clyde King. And if you know Star is Born, they're the Oreos with Barbara. They sang background for everyone, and they were the Supremes on Funny Girl and No Matter What Sign You Are. And that probably could have been the reasons why you don't like the song. Or maybe not. Well, the Capricorn, Scorpio, Taurus, Gemini,
Gemini,
Virgo,
Virgo,
Cancer, Pisces,
Aquarius,
Libra,
Sagittarius,
Aries, Aquarius, Sagittarius. The gowns
Moonshine.
were good. The gowns were good
The
when they
gals
performed
were
it
too.
on, but they're always good. Okay, but the song, okay, not so good. So
But
it's not no
I'm
matter
gonna
what
go
sign
back
you are.
to something
The-
you mentioned, which is the Funny Girl album. Diana Ross and the Supremes sing and perform Funny Girl is the full title.
Thank you.
And it was the biggest flop of the Supremes discography. It
Number
it
150 on the top 200.
Thank you. And it was hard getting there. Now, this was after Barbra Streisand had done Funny Girl on Broadway, but before the movie came out. So national public knowledge of Funny Girl wasn't what it later became. So people were like, what is Funny Girl? Secondly, I'm sure the idea of Diana Ross playing Fanny Brice, which she basically does on the album, she does the Yiddishisms and everything, might have been a little ahead of its time as far as cross-cultural appropriation or multicultural casting, but the fact is she does a great job with it. And the whole album is one track, except of course you have to turn it over halfway, and it's done as a Motown arrangement. So it's, If a Girl Isn't Pretty, I'm the Greatest Star, one song leading into another with Motown beats with the Supremes, who you're now telling me weren't really the Supremes, doing a
No, they
three.
were not the Supremes. They
That's
weren't.
a shame. That's a shame. Well,
Not really. If you
the
listen,
Supremes
if
weren't
you
even on
listen,
the Supremes weren't even on their farewell weepy
I
song, Someday
know.
We'll Be Together.
Or Love Child. They're not. It's the Andantes on Love Child,
Why
and
weren't they
someday.
on Love Child? Why weren't they on Love?
Well, we'll just say that, they were so busy, touring and everything. They didn't have time to have book Mary and Cindy in. My opinion, this is my opinion. In my opinion, I think they probably wanted to test, or Mr. Barry Gordy Jr. wanted to test to see if Diana could do it with a session singer or two or three. But Johnny Bristol is in the background of Someday We'll Be Together. It's some dude talking,
So it was a
singing under
dry
Diana
run.
to kind
It's
of
a
get her
dry
into it.
run for a dry run for Diana's solo career.
It was supposed to be her lead single, which makes sense. It was supposed to be the lead single on the Diana Ross album, which the also tracks were three songs: Stony End, Time and Love, and Lines, Triangles, and something that Marilyn McCoo and the Fifth Dimension did. Those were for her, those are songs for the first album, but they dropped it. And the first album, Diana Ross with the Apple, with Nicholas and Valerie, that Ashford and Simpson, there's one track that These Things Will Keep Me Loving You, which is the same session producers as Someday We'll Be Together. And that the rest of the album is, all Nick and Val. And that album is just sublime, the first Diana Ross album, in my opinion, but this is about your opinion, so I gotta hush. But I'm just giving a little history.
One more song that I would say should have done better is the follow-up to Love Child, which is I'm Living in Shame, which I always did with my band, and it's total camp. Love Child kind of opened up a whole new territory of social realism about
Right.
don't want to have a love child, be born in poverty. Now we get to I'm Living in Shame, which is a story song where Diana is so ashamed that she treated her mother like garbage. Pretty much told her friends that, oh, that's our servant, that's not my mother. Uh, this
Is
is
there any
real.
footage
This
of
isn't a
this
real
on
story,
YouTube
mind you.
of you
It's
singing
fiction.
I'm Living in Shame? Is there footage of you singing I'm
Yeah, there
Living?
is. It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, that's my homework assignment. And I have to say to our viewers, you have a really good singing voice. I've been in your presence. I was really impressed. And I would like to, and I've seen you singing actually like several times, but the Diana Ross, when we did that thing with the dolls in the Black History, first off, I'm so happy the dolls sold because I didn't think they would, and I knew they would. But you have an incredible singing voice, and I've seen you with Kobe sing a few times, and it's just really pleasant. I can't wait to hear you sing "I'm Living in Shame." I'm going to look it up, and I'm going to love it. I'm going to
Mom
post it.
was cooking bread. She had a dirty, raggedy scarf around her head.
Always had her stockings low, rose to her
It's
feet.
a
She just
camp classic, and so is Stony End. I mean, I would love to hear Diana sing about her poor mother working the mines.
if you it's streamable, it's on what do you call it? It sings it kind of a little bit more like a Rita Coolidge. It was Bones Howe who reports it. That has this kind of this undercut that's not like the Barbara version. So it's interesting. And Diana did it first, just like Time and Love and a few other like
Laura Nero. Is that Laura Nero?
Laura Nero wrote Time and Love and Stony End, but there was a song that Diana did before Barbara on For Everything Is Everything, which didn't make the album. It's like an extra, the deluxe version. And it was What Are You Doing for the Rest of Your Life? And obvious, I like it better than Barbara Streisand's version. However, I think you would appreciate that if you're not familiar with her version from Everything Is Everything. It's an expanded version with an alternative cover with the cat suit on that I'm sorry, Harry Langdon Jr. photographed. Okay, we're
Well,
ready for the
let me just interject something, which is this Funny Girl album was part of a series of specialty albums or novelty albums that Berry Gordy would have the Supremes do because he wanted to expand their palette. So when they played the Copa, they couldn't just sing hits; they could also sing Rodgers and Hart songs. Because I was
brilliant
introduced to Rodgers and Hart by the Supremes sing Rodgers and Hart. They also did a Nashville album. They also did a Liverpool album. They did We Remember Sam
Sam
Cooke.
Cooke. So the next question, where does it go off the rails here? What is your favorite Supremes or Diana Ross and Supremes specialty albums, or what we fans for the 1974 versatile stylist side of anthology? What album? And we can include the Christmas album that is called My World. It's Diana Ross and the Sublimes because it's the Andantes that are singing behind her, not Mary and Florence. The Andantes were three of them. They were the session singers, and they sang "Who Could Ever Doubt My Love." You hear them in the background for that B side, and they did the amazing vocals on the Four Tops, "Ask the Lonely," and everything thing, like Love Child. What is your favorite versatile stylist album by the Supremes?
It would be Love Child. Is the album called Love Child?
Yes.
Okay, this is an amazing album because they are really going into dark territory, not just the title song. Every track is practically some dark dive into real despair. Keep an
Right?
eye
Tell us,
on your
I know the tracks, but tell us.
keep an eye on your close friend, or does
Oh,
your
this
mama
the
does,
spiders, yeah.
does your mama know about me, which was written by Tony
Yes.
Chong from Cheech and
How
Chong.
long has that evening train been going on?
How long? Yeah, where did he go? And they plummet for deep drama. I would love to see like a drag act just lip syncing that album
I'll
because
Set You
she'd come out
Free
with
is a
her afros.
heartbreaker too. I'll Set You Free. You can almost feel her like
Well,
pain
that's
and you,
another Remember Me or Touch Me in the Morning is
right?
another I'll Set You Free, the noble farewell song. That's what she does.
She's fine, fine. I'll set you free. Yeah.
There's one positive song which is, "Ooh, baby, life could be something
Something.
wonderful."
They're like wonderful. Ooh,
Ooh,
ooh, ooh.
ooh,
And
ooh.
that wonderful, yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. And
It's a haunting album, and I'm like, what were they thinking? Because Love Child was a huge hit, but without that song, that album wouldn't have sold.
oh, absolutely. And if you are some things you never get used to is the first
Ashford and
Nicholas and
Simpson,
yeah, I'm
Ashford.
sorry, yeah. Yeah, Nick and Val. And that song, I wish there was footage of them singing it on television because they were booked for the Tonight Show, and I believe they were supposed to sing it, but they sang Martin Luther King was assassinated, so they sang their version of Somewhere on the Tonight Show.
Which
But
is,
that would make sense that they would
yes,
want
there is a place for us on the TV
right.
special.
That's just
There's
that
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 whole
monologue.
monologue.
Yeah.
One song by the Supremes that I wore it out. I played it so many times, and I would listen every week to Cousin Brucey with the Top 40 Countdown, and it
Yeah.
wasn't doing that well. It never got up there, and it was Forever Came Today, which also
Yes.
the Jackson Five did.
Yes.
And
Well,
there you were.
it's interesting when you look at the, not that you do, but there's a chart, the Record World, Billboard, and Cashbox. And Forever Came Today went to 13 on Cashbox, but only went to like 28 on
Yeah,
Billboard. And so like there's a difference, like also like the composer, my least favorite Diana Ross and the Supreme
I
song by Smokey
love
Robinson.
the composer,
Really?
especially
Wow.
that bridge part where she goes, "Now there's a tender song.
There's
It's
a
like a
remedy.
rhapsody,
I
a
can't.
symphony." The way she says symphony
Yeah.
brings me
I
back to
like it.
In and Out of Love, where she has that bridge.
Oh, In and Out of Love has got the coolest choreography in my opinion. Because I mean I can do it. And that's why who couldn't do this? Just it's like the I don't know what it's called,
Well,
but it's
great choreography was Cornet Man when they did Cornet Man from Funny Girl on TV.
right. Right. With that really cool mini dress and
Again,
that
I'm like, how did
Olivia
they learn
Newton-John
all that?
sequin
How did
headband. Latoya Jackson, who? That she had that little headband on. Like, and that cute little body. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
that was
very
cool.
upset that you don't like the composer because I
Well, it's okay. We can agree to disagree. I mean, there's so many
got
systemic problems in the world. I think
make
we can get
words
over that. The
right.
composer is not my favorite. It's my least favorite.
Oh, you're
But my
both.
favorite B-side by the Supremes, Ask Any Girl. I could feather dust to that song, Ask Any Girl on loop. It's so ridiculous. It's like basically Ken Berry's 1, 2, 3, but it's Ask Any Girl. Yeah, it's so ridiculous, but I love that B-side.
Well, guess what I
And
just found online is the Tammy Show, which is a great concert movie.
interesting. Now, if you
Supreme
watch the
scored
Tammy
both.
Show, Tony Basil herself told me she was the junior choreographer. And if you look, you'll see when Diana does this 20-year-old thing that's so full of grace and Maxine Powell, like who would do that? Like it looks so cool when she says, "Where to Love Go?" and she extends her arm like that. And then the go-go dancers are coming through, and the Oscar-nominated actress Terry Garr is like with her, she's dancing as the blonde. And then you see Tony Basil with like this kind of like headband on with her hair up. It's really cool. And what I like about the music industry, because I'm not musical, I'm just a nerd and a geek, um, that makes dolls and puppets. and teaches through them. But the whole I think is that everyone is like woven in it and work together. And like if you really stay the course in the game, it all leads back to everyone knowing each other from the Tammy show. Because Mick Jagger and Tony were looking and on the wings and seeing Diana Ross at 20-year-old. They're like, who is that? Because she just had it. It's like she just had it. And that is such an incredible clip because especially the B footage when they're like getting their makeup on, you see the close up of Mary and Diana's teeth. So cool. So
Well, I always see Tony Basil and Terry Garr popping up in old movies. Terry was a
isn't
showgirl.
it fun, especially in the
It's
beach, the
great.
bikini beach one? And then Tony has that really like she just has that something little razzle dazzle extra. And she was like the lead dancer in a Frank Sinatra movie. And a really cool, like, oh my, it's just she's everything.
She's in John Goldfarb, Please Come Home with Shirley MacLaine.
Yes. No,
I have
she's everything, and she is such a trooper. Like she is so talented, and she's more than Mickey. My hashtag, she's more than Mickey. Mickey's a great record. I love it, but she's more than Mickey. She does so much and continues to do so much. But back to Diana. Star 80 question number 6. In your opinion, Mr. Musto, what is Diana Ross's single most important contribution in the recording industry, the film industry, her career in general? What was like the big moment that you think, if they were to put like a little capsule and put Diana Ross in and the, you know, anthem of popular culture, what would be that moment that would flash? And people, of course, would really remember it and resonate with it, like, oh yeah, yeah, that's perfection.
I mean, in general, I would go with her range, her professionalism, and her consistency. But for the moment, I would say when she was going solo, it was a big what if. The Supremes with Jeannie Terrell, maybe they were going to be huge. Maybe Diana was going to flop. It really was not as much of a fait accompli as you might think so looking back. But when she proved with her solo emergence that she was an incredible superstar, which us young gays already knew, that was the moment when we said she's here forever. She's part of our culture forever,
Yeah.
and there's
Very
nobody
good.
else like her.
And number 7, I think I know the answer to this question. I could be wrong, and I've been wrong a lot. Number 7, 7 is magic. Star 80 question, the dream duet. If you had a fantasy musical collaboration, I already slipped, for Diana Ross, who would it be? Would it be somebody living? Would it be somebody not living? Would it be you? Would you do a
Oh,
duet with Diana Ross? You've got a really good singing voice.
I don't want to show up my idol, so
Okay, that's I totally respect that.
would have to
Who
turn
would be
that
the
down.
dream collaboration for Diana Ross?
This
Like
is
the
my
duet.
thought. Okay.
Ooh, I can't wait.
The, as you know, Listen was a song they wrote for Beyonce for the Dreamgirls movie, which of course Dreamgirls was based on the Supremes.
No, it
Uh,
wasn't.
okay, whatever. Yeah, Diana's life is
Just
not
the
about.
album covers looked exactly like it in the movie, and they even did a thing for Mahogany, but whatever. Yep,
Let's say loosely based. But in any case, in the
very
movie,
tight.
it's a song of rebuke. Even though Beyonce is singing it in the recording studio, she's aiming it at Curtis, Jamie Foxx. She's
Right,
mad at him. But when they do Dreamgirls now on stage, they incorporate Listen into the show, the way they take songs from the movie of Grease and put it in the show.
correct.
And they make it a positive chick bonding song between Dina, Diana Ross, and Effie, Flo Ballard.
Right.
I saw that at the Apollo and it brought the house down. It was the most incredible moment in the whole show that they've
Wow.
taken this song, Listen, repurposed it, and made it work as the female bonding song between the two women. It makes you love the Dina character more because you realize she is rooting for Effie. So here's my fantasy. I'm gonna start crying. That Diana should sing Listen with Flo.
Michael, with artificial intelligence, it's kind of possible.
Let's make it happen.
I you're gonna make me cry. I in my house we have a grave rubbing of Florence Ballard's Glenna Chapman's grave rubbing. And I look at it every day when I make coffee, and it reminds me of how precious life is. And I was very sick 5 years ago or so when you came to my house. I don't advertise it, but I did become Mr. Movember, which is funny because I'm not the poster child of testosterone. So yeah, that is something that would be really cool. And I'm weird enough to try to do it. And even if I'm, get a cease and desist from the Chaplin daughter, because they didn't like that my friend Scott, the artist, put a Flo Ballard doll on her grave that I made for the family.
Scott
Um,
Covert. I know Scott Covert.
I love him. He's wonderful.
He
He
took my
he
daughter.
loves the Supremes like you. That would be really beautiful. Oh, thank you for sharing that. And I have another question, which is off the questions. Like, did you actually see with any family member the Supremes, the original ones with Diana, Mary, and Flo as a kid?
No, no, I was not going to concerts at that age. I didn't. I just saw them on it.
So
I saw them on Ed
did you?
Sullivan every week
Oh, wow, wow.
and the Hollywood Palace.
Yeah, yeah,
I
cool.
started going to concerts when I would go to see Diana as a solo act. And the
Right.
only time I ever saw her sort of phone in a concert was when it was supposed to be the Supremes reunion, but that fell apart. Remember? It was,
Do I remember I have no idea what you're talking about.
and
Look,
Diana was stuck doing it, even though it wasn't a reunion concert anymore. Yeah, there you
it
go.
turned out I went to the Divas Not Live, a tribute to Diana Ross. I
I was
think you
there
might
as
have been there.
well. I was there.
I paid like 2 G's. I wasn't 30 yet, but I cried. And actually, when I got my tickets from VH1, because I like bid on them, I cried listening to It's My Getting Home to Murray
Oh,
Hill, Gramercy Park, where I lived for many, many, many years, like over 30 years. I was so excited because Diana hasn't gotten an Oscar, she hasn't gotten a Grammy, but I'm going to see her live at Divas Live in a tribute to her. And that was
that was a
the
disaster.
longest concert I've ever been to in my life.
It was a disaster because
I I kind of
the
I
sound system didn't work. It was a huge technical
tell me
problem.
about it.
And
And
the
the
next day,
continuity errors with
I
the
got a memo.
microphones.
I got a memo the next day from VH1 saying it's not our fault. Diana Ross insisted on bringing her own sound system. They made
Right,
sure to clear themselves right away.
right.
Also, Diana entered the stage before her entrance. She kind of couldn't wait to get out there. So she came out, and it, believe it or not, diffused the energy of her, what was going to be her actual entrance. Is one of the rare missteps I've ever seen her do.
I was there. I was like in the fourth row. And I was a little surprised when she said, I love you, or there's like something a little shaky, breaky. And it was I still, whenever I see Diana, I've seen her a lot. I'm kind of always in awe. And I was in awe, but I was like, oh, kind of a little bit. But we forget that like she's been doing this since she's like 14. And that was a time in her career that maybe she paused a little bit and reflected. And what I think we could really end this conversation is, at least there's tenacity and tenacious, there's something tenacious about Diana Ross. Like she doesn't give up. She's strong, she's fierce. And who would have thought that she'd be the face of YSL in 2024? And she's nearly 80 and she's still amazing. And she just, even when people say no, she says yes. And that takes a special person. And there's something to be said that she is timeless and that there's young people still telling me that they like her and they found her in their own special way. And their parents are taking them across the country to see her at 79, 80 years old, and she still matters. And that it says a lot about the love and joy of what music brings. It brings people together, it brings strangers together, and we all can celebrate what magic Diana Ross does and is for all of us for all time. And that's so cool. I mean, it brought us together. I don't know if you remember this. Okay, but I sent you a pink Diana Ross and Timmy Bellavia t-shirt, and she's crowning me as a cartoon because I was very James Mansfield in my early 20s and just giving t-shirts of myself or whatever. And then I silenced my ego. But the thing is, do you remember that t-shirt you called me
Yes,
with a
I do.
little car? You remember it?
Of
You don't
course.
remember it.
No, I do.
Are you really okay? So that was me. I was the blonde. Actually, this is, oh no, we'll close the call. I look like this. So I sent you a t-shirt and I couldn't believe that you called me and you thanked me for the t-shirt and I didn't know what to do. Around the same time that RTC management called me to cease and desist on my Diana Ross's Wonder Woman comic book that was an all black version of Wonder Woman but it included me. I was, she came to Paradise Island and I was her friend in my fantasy. They called me to cease and desist. I couldn't like distribute it with my whatever that wasn't a village copier. I couldn't make it. Anyway, we'll leave with you that I'm so glad that you remember that pink t-shirt that I sent to you in I think of April of 1996.
I'll
And
remember any nice gesture I remember because I got so
oh
much.
well, you're so like Diana Ross. Your writing and your commentary has always made it okay and more than okay to love Diana Ross. As also just I just love the way your commentaries made me feel coming up into this day. They just make me feel empowered. So, like Diana, you have been graced my life in an interesting way. And I wanted to acknowledge that in this call. And I can't thank you enough for letting me interview you and letting me give you that t-shirt, or at least you didn't have a choice in that, but letting me donate those dolls to raise money for something really cool. And I've got like 155 Diana Ross dolls that are new poses thanks to Tony Basil and the dance class I took during lockdown. It kind of changed the way I make my puppets that no one wants. But for a good cause, I think we could come together and do something. I would like that. I'm just putting it out there. Okay.
Well, I mean, the highlight of my life was meeting Diana Ross in 1984.
Pardon me?
The high point of my life was meeting Diana Ross in
Oh yeah,
1980.
tell us about that. Tell us about you have to talk about that.
Well, she had a big party on the Intrepid, which is a docked boat on the west side, and she was having a run at Radio City and promoting Swept Away. And she was super nice. This was the height of all the bad press of how supposedly evil she was. I found her to be delightful.
Yeah.
And Steven Saban, who had a column in Details, which at the time was like the downtown nightlife magazine, ran it as his lead photo, me and Diana Ross, because my face looks like I'm exploding from joy. And I'm not one of those people who goes up to idols and gets photographed with them or anything like that. But this was different. This was Diana Ross. So, I mean, her and David Bowie, I'd say, were the two biggest idols to me at that point.
Did you fan out or were you like calm, cool, collected? Were you like,
I was inwardly fanning out, but I'm a professional journalist, so I couldn't act like an idiot. So
okay.
I was fine on the surface, but inside I was going, holy shit, I can't, it's Diana Ross.
That's that's cool. I'm impressed that you did. And I'm impressed that, thank you rather. Thank you for making sure that the listeners and viewers heard that you were at that fancy intrepid after her bombastic, like record-breaking Radio City Music Hall. That she broke all box office records in '84. And it was quite glamorous. And we see it on YouTube with, I think there's an Entertainment Tonight segment that you're in it as well. So
And
very
Diana
cool.
is now in a documentary about We Are the World,
Yes.
where she says she wanted it to go on forever.
Yeah, I was really touched by that. I watched it Monday night, and I never forget how beautiful she is. Um, and she was really beautiful in that documentary. And at the end, I think she took all of her makeup off, and she's still strikingly beautiful. So cool. Anyway, this was beautiful. Thank you so much, Michael. And until we meet again, mwah, be well.
Thanks, Timothy. Bye bye.